Hello. For those who are new here, I am Rowan. For those who aren't new here, hi, hello again. I am currently sitting in the chair of Rob. He's the other half of Team Manticore. Together we make a lot of things. Many ideas, and not all of them can be used immediately. That's just not how it works. So I've needed a way to catalog and collect and put aside. Today I just want to tell you about how I can't say organize, how I keep stuff. I have been at this for a very long time. This being, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and I have been doing this since childhood. So I have a lot of ideas, and not all of them can be used immediately, so I need a place to kind of put them to the side. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And maybe you can get some ideas to use for your own, I say organization, but like, you'll see it's not organized. It could be. It could be. It's not. There's lots of names for this. I call mine a morgue, because I'm morbid, because it's where the dead ideas go before they're buried or brought back from the dead. And I have a cute little plaque that I got on sale from a Halloween store years ago. You could just as easily use a folder on your computer in this day and age, or like, I don't know, a box, or on your phone, I suppose. I like the filing cabinet. It feels official, even though nothing in here is, like, organized. It could be. I strive, like, for a future where it's not currently. Either way, this is a simple way to take character designs that you like but don't work for the project at hand, or neat environments that would be really cool to write a story that takes place there one day, or sketches of monsters from the margins of an old homework, right? Anything that you think has some merit to it, but doesn't currently have a home, can go in your morgue. Also, the whole kill your darlings, right? If you have something that you really loved in your story, and you know it doesn't work, and you have to take it out, you don't have to just get rid of it forever, you can just take it out and put it in your morgue. And yeah, so the smart move would be to organize it by, like, character design versus dialogue-heavy scene that could be said by other characters, so on and so forth, rather than the pile I keep. And then, when you have a project that could use a specific one thing or another, you simply need some inspiration, whatever, you dig through the morgue and see what you can resurrect. I'm going to give you 2 examples that might branch off, you'll see what I mean, for how I use my morgue. The first is Oh Hell, Donna. Now, this is a 3-volume thing. It took me many years to do. And if I ever redo it as, like, not redo it, but if I ever fix it up to be in a hardcover, Rob says I shouldn't replace all of the text with my font, and that I should just let it, but some of it's, like, near illegible, because I did it all by hand, and I want to, it's better. That's a separate issue. So sometime around, I don't know, 2002 or 3 maybe, I drew a 1-page comic about a demon girl coming up to see what's up on Earth, thinking a boy is cute, saving them from an attacker, and then inviting him out for pizza. I wish I had that to show you. Generally, it does make sense to finally toss the things you used from the morgue, but not if you're planning a hardcover with behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, I don't want to be a hoarder about it, but, like, now I've got some regrets for letting some stuff go. That's a me problem. I have a lot of Donna art, Donna-related art, or stuff that became Donna-related art from a million years ago, and that's what you're looking at now. Things that were a certain way, and then what they became. So, yeah, I remade that 1 page, as well as some other bits and pieces I had drawn of the characters in Oh Hell, Donna about a decade later using the morgue. And for some characters, things I pulled from my childhood could then serve as their backstories in the comic. Some of those weren't even, like, redrawn, just allowed to be scanned and maybe fixed up a little to be more legible. Then the characters were able to be brought back to life entirely beyond that. I even used a piece from a college-level art class I took while I was still in high school, and that led to the design of Rage, and that led to a little project idea with Rage and Destruction and a few other characters. I didn't like any of the other ones. I still have them, just in case. I don't know, you never know. So they're still in the morgue, but Rage got to come out of the morgue. And I made her friend in B, and they got a little art book thing in a different class years later, like in college. And then those pages got scanned and fixed up and went to the final 3-volume graphic novel as the backstory. Now, my second example here is Moth, or the Geckman Chronicles. But this one takes a few steps to get to the story as we know it today. Those of you who know who Gabe Geckman is, Gabe Geckman PI, right? That says what you need to know. He's a PI. And I love him as a character so much. He doesn't really factor into this at all. His character as he is today didn't really exist at the time when the first idea for the story came about. I just knew there would be a detective. So instead, let's start with Marco. This Sharpie drawing was done when I was 11 years old. I wasn't enamored with the character, but I had thought up a little backstory for him. It was tragic, but not horror. He mostly was a victim in that story that I called Moth, that followed a detective. And I'm not kidding. And I wound up just putting him aside, because there wasn't enough to it. I needed people to care if this character died. And then my dad got into a car accident. He's fine. I was 11 years old. And when I saw him in the hospital, he had this U-shaped cut from the airbag under 2 little beauty marks, and it looked like a stitched up smiley face. This was also the day my pen name was born. That's another story. Point is, I got kind of obsessed. I might have been traumatized, I don't know. But I became kind of obsessed with this image of a stitched up smiley face, and so I redesigned Marco to be Stephen Stitches. Then he got his own little 1-page poem. Then eventually that was turned into a 12-page short story that still rhymed, and it was just no longer Moth at all. His story got even longer, it doesn't rhyme anymore, and it's more like a coming-of-age story called Stitches. The idea was that it's a bunch of little short stories about a bunch of different characters. They all interact, they all grow and age over time. That's why it's all stitched together. That was the thought. Moth was put to the side in the morgue. Stitches was also there, just a separate thing. Now Stitches is still there. Moth is not. And then, I don't know, I was maybe 12 or 13. It was around that time, though. I came up with Rain, a blue-haired, pretty violent guy who liked to laugh a lot. It was, what if the Joker was huge and also hopeless romantic? And his story was too cringe, even for me as a preteen. It was just so edgy and sad. So, by high school, Rain got scooped out of the morgue and remade into Dead Ray. Literally Dead Rain, to begin with, and then dropped the Y and spelled differently. But I kept that original Rain design just in the morgue. Took what I needed from it. Decided this isn't entirely all I want to use this for, though. He became just inspiration for Dead Ray, and then there's something else. So when I finally started writing Moth in earnest, I needed a kind of a foil that could be imposing, but also softened by the end. So I brought Rain back from the dead for it, this time for good. By the time this video is out, Stitches still isn't a complete thing anyone can see or read. Oops. But one of the main characters is an Entropy Head. Entropy Head is out and exists. And, like, the character is Neil, also known as Bones. Again, his story doesn't exist, so he's just kind of a guy. Doesn't say anything. I know who he is. Just fun character design, I guess, in Entropy Head. Just like Dead Ray shows up in a random panel of Oh Hell Donna, because why not? And also, Voace, victim of a common enemy, a band in Dead Ray, also happens to be Todd's favorite band in Oh Hell Donna. Everything takes place all in the same world, it's all in Cornsbrook. I also plan on having a lot of characters from Stitches, including Steven himself, especially Steven himself, show up in a point-and-click game that Rob's thinking about making called Escape from Cornsbrook. That would literally just be you're walking around this imaginary world where most of my stories take place. Oh, I mentioned Entropy Head, and I suppose I used my Morgue then too. Most of it was new. Like, nothing was from when I was 11. I know, so weird, right? But It was all new stuff. And I did, when I needed a character for one or two panels that just needed to exist for the sake of the story, but I didn't feel like doing a more character design. I did use character designs from art challenges that I've had on YouTube that otherwise just had nowhere to live. In a perfect world, you would have a morgue, or whatever you want to call it, and maybe also a space for inspiration. A pretty tree you took a picture of, or your pets, or a book that you always go back and reread when times are hard, anything and everything. You've probably seen mood boards or inspiration boards with stuff from magazines pinned to it. This is a similar creature to one of those, and could even be incorporated if you already have such a thing. I hope all that made sense. If you have any questions, obviously don't feel shy about leaving them below. And rock on! I am a maker of things, and I have too many ideas, and I've been at this since childhood. So it's been like 20, almost 30 years. Oh. It's fine.